This episode is proudly supported by OpenTable.
Nearly 1/3 of diners are booking same day. So they're making those decisions on the spot. And 10% are making their bookings within just a few hours. And so it's why it's so important to have booking software like OpenTable, which allows your diners to discover you. And so when restaurants are on platforms like OpenTable, they're much more likely to be discovered. We help diners to connect to restaurants. Ultimately, having technology, using technology, helps you to reattach to those diners.
Experience the power of OpenTable. For an exclusive offer, visit restaurant.opentable.com.au/DITW.
There's something about walking through a restaurant, all the kitchens are firing, the staff are smiling, the uniforms are all pressed. There's just something so special about that. And I think every restaurateur, if you're passionate about this business, there's nothing quite as comforting as walking through your restaurant and seeing everything just move the way it should move.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Last time we caught up with Ross Lusted, he'd opened his dream restaurant, Woodcut, and was reveling in the hum of a busy restaurant. But then a 4-month lockdown changed everything. As he prepares to open up again, he joins us. Ross, how are you?
Well rested.
What's this period of time been like for you? You worked for so long to open up this restaurant and then a really big lockdown arrived. What sort of impact has it had on you?
Oh, I mean, obviously the obvious. We have 150 odd staff that we love and care about. And, we just entered this amazing sort of opening our relationship with our team. You work on that for so long. And then suddenly it comes to a grinding halt. And I remember we sort of got the notice that we waited for the announcement, and it was 11 o'clock on a Friday. And by 11 o'clock that night, we were, salting all the chopping boards and emptying out the fridges, and that was it. It was, so sort of in a 12-hour period, you didn't even really have time to go, have we cancelled the lobster order? Oh no, they're arriving tomorrow. So, I'm a glass half full type of guy, and I sort of walked away from it thinking this is only going to be 2 weeks. So let's get together with the team and let's look at what you work so hard to get these restaurants open, and admittedly you're exhausted by the time you get there. So you sort of have to, and I looked at it and I thought, here's an opportunity. Who gets an opportunity after 6 months of operating to go, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Let's sit down, let's reassess, and then come back and better and stronger in 2 weeks. That 2 weeks went to 4 weeks, and then we didn't really know when we were going to reopen. And I think that makes it really challenging. I think there was not only sort of not knowing how long it's going to be, but where the government is up to in terms of support for business, for employees, and where, does everyone have the mental health capacity from last lockdown to re-enter another lockdown? And, I'd never really been through it because we'd closed the bridge room when the last lockdown. So we were sort of working on, and that's why in Deep in the Weeds, I said to you, our story is a good story because we're working on these things that are happening that are really exciting. And it's very difficult. It does give you pause to think, is this what we're living with now? And there's still a lot of unanswered questions about how we will operate moving forward, not only for the rest of this year, but what happens next year, the year after that, and is this the new normal? You look at other countries in the world and no one's really worked out how to, I think, work with this in a way that you just feel you have a safe work environment, a a safe customer environment, and some way of forward planning. I think we are all navigating something now that is new to everyone, and that it certainly has its challenges.
You mentioned that originally you saw it as a chance to work on the business and fix things that weren't working and maybe change things. Is there things that have changed or will change when you open?
Yeah, I think we're, we were sort of starting to sharpen the pencil a little bit and fine tune systems and. But you're just chasing your tail all the time because you're operating a really behemoth of a restaurant. So to take time out with your team and go, do we need a kitchen manager? Yeah, you know what? We need a kitchen administrator. Let's employ someone who wants to. I don't need chefs punching in data when they should be cooking. So let's get that person on. And so we have that person now when we reopen with a really specific skill set. So we've also had time to recruit those people and look at what does everyone's job entail, and are they being the best person that they can be in that role, and are they being satisfied? Are they getting is there succession planning in place? All the things that we talk about that you sort of don't have time to do. So this is a point where you can reflect and then really be much more strategic. So that's what I've taken away from it. I built a workbench and I made a whole lot of sculptures, bought a spray painter and a few more power tools. So I've had to mentally occupy my mind and my hands, which I've always done. In the past, I think we talked about this last time. I need to be working on something else to help me to cook and to focus on. I can't sit down and just say, okay, let's write the menu. I need to be engaged in something else and working on some other things, and then I just seem to just drift off into it, So that's been great. Obviously, with having Bronte home doing homeschooling, she had a 6th birthday, and so it's amazing to see her progression. She really blossomed in lockdown last year. She learnt to read, and I just thought, God, in some ways, you can see in some systems where kids are out of school for 3 months and they go and chase reindeer in a forest, and they do other things that is so much more about life than just schooling in a different way. So that's been really positive and exciting. I talked to Sussman today about what's happening now with what fishermen are there, and also we talked a little bit about this last time about how critical it is with our farmers that are struggling. Everyone's in the same situation, but it's who's going to be there when we open, and that they're real questions, So talking to our suppliers over the last sort of months, going, how are you guys going, and what's your strategy looking like? Are you still interested in supplying restaurants? Or we've lost a lot of staff because, and this is true and very unfortunate, but our industry is too unstable. And, some really talented people are moving containers at the shipping terminal because it's consistent. It sounds really odd, but, people that we've had in roles for a long time, not only at the Bridge Room, but also at Woodcut, they've just said this is just too many unknowns in our industry, and that's really frightening for me. I don't know if you've got this other feedback, but there's a lot of exciting things happen, like people opening new different businesses. They've really, really pivoted. Obviously with our shared services within the building that we're in, we couldn't do any takeaway or anything like that. So, and I don't know what that brings, is it a distraction? Is it, would that have given us something that I don't know already? A long time ago, I worked with Neil on the Qantas project, and every time I look at that, I think, God, it's just more like Qantas. So I don't know if I want that in my life, but I think in some ways we were lucky we got to open, and like I said, now we get to reflect, which you never have in a business. Never. I've never seen it in hospitality that you open something new and go, oh, let's just stop for a month and reassess what we've done. What do you think about that, guys? No, let's change that. Okay, we're ready to open the doors again. Let's go.
What about from a personal perspective? It was a chance to reflect about what you're doing with the business, but what about for yourself and your role in the industry?
I don't, I see myself as just the same person. I'm very passionate about this industry. I want this industry to be successful. I see it being eroded more and more by pressures that are not that. I'm not going to say they're out of our control, but it's just becoming harder and harder. Last lockdown, I think we talked about this, and I said, if a 3-hat restaurant had done takeaway, you would have lost 3 hats overnight. But all bets were off after the last lockdown, and like this lockdown, it's just blown me away. The young talent, like Ned Parker, one of our chefs, was making pastries and all the money they raised, and they raised a lot of money. It went to Beyond Blue charity. And I was so inspired by that, because I thought, so here's a young guy, very talented, came to us from the Ledbury, and, just pivoted and challenged himself and did something extraordinary. So I think we've seen different talent come out of other people. I've been working on a couple of things that are personal projects for me that are within our industry that will come to fruition later. But I think it's a time of, like I said, it's been a time of big reflection, and also just hoping that the people that support our business, and that runs through, from farmers, fishermen, butchers, through to media, PR companies, everyone that drives, what you do. I mean, it's all, hospitality is a big part. And, no one needs to go to restaurants, but we're a country that really loves and embraces restaurants, and we bat way out of our league in this country. But personally, for me, it has made me think just how vulnerable our industry is, and how if this is a trend that continues, how much talent we will lose because of the instabilities. And will this become the, I'd hate to say it, but restaurants that are just safe and generic because they need to be safe and generic because you just don't know what's around the corner,
What have you missed about Woodcut during this time?
Our staff. Our staff for us, that's, I'm not going to say it's like going to war because I've never gone to war, but I think, when you get through an opening and the people that come with you and they work with you for many years, and, the camaraderie that you have, just being in the restaurant today, seeing all the guys come back and they're really excited. And, I don't know that anyone is happy sitting on the sofa getting a check from the government. There might be some people that they think, okay, well, that's my right, and it is everyone's right to do that. And it's great that we actually have that system in Australia. And but I know there's a lot of people who are just really passionate about their careers. They want to work. They want to be there. And, of course, the other thing that makes restaurants, the reason I'm in the business is our customers. It's the staff first and foremost, and our customers. There's something about a restaurant. There's something about walking through a restaurant and just, I saw Neil do a bloody star jump the other day because he's so excited, and I worked with Neil for a long time, and still where he is today and the position that he is and what he brings to our industry, there's still this passion, and there's still this, he's like a little kid opening up a packet. Like a little bloody toy, and it's great. And that's what we all need in this business. It's really exciting to see that, And Margaret's a really different restaurant. And that's great because it's just one more thing that is contributing to making this a diverse industry, not only in Sydney, but, really competing on a world stage. It's fantastic.
Ross, you're opening tomorrow. How's it going to feel to open the doors on a spring Friday in Sydney?
Oh, I think Sonny was reading a book the other day. It said, even a rainy day is a great day. And there's something, like I said before, there's something about walking through a restaurant, all the kitchens are firing, the staff are smiling, the uniforms are all pressed. There's just something so special about that. And not because Woodcut and the location, I think every restaurateur, if you're passionate about this business, there's nothing quite as comforting as walking through your restaurant and seeing everything just move the way it should move. I have the added advantage of looking out over one of the most spectacular harbours in the city, and I think I'm not going to say I didn't appreciate it when we first opened, but this is going to be a really, really special reopening. I think the staff and everyone are so keen to put this period behind us. And, just the notes that I've got from customers who are just, can't wait to see you not only open, but to support you and to see that you're going to be there next year and successful. And that's really what I'm looking forward more than anything.
Well, Ross, there's a lot of people looking forward to that too, and we're absolutely honoured that you've got a little bit of time to share on Deep in the Weeds, and no doubt we'll catch up again soon. Please keep in touch. Good luck, and we'll talk again soon.
And I've got to say, Hux, you're doing an amazing job, mate. You can edit that bit out, Rob. All right, buddy. Talk to you.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.